invite Thomas and Danielle to the stage, please. I just wanted to make a point that we were discussing on there a moment ago about the what can be done right now story about big deep sea ships. And what can be done right now, and I said this earlier, is I can reduce 20 to 25% of my emissions by replacing the electrical generation capacity on board a ship. And you might look at me and say, well, why aren't you doing it? And I can say we are, because we've invested in E1 Marine, which is a solution that we're going to be applying to bring this technology on board our ships. So there's no reason why we can't apply the same technology on big 25,000 TEU container ships plying the ocean today. The wrong way to come about this is to say that it's all about the main engine propulsion. It's not. The starting point is listening to what we're hearing from people who've applied this technology in the coastal trades. And from the coastal trades, it will develop, and subsequently, it will be put onto deep sea vessels. We'll be getting class approval, and Nick Brown from BV will be talking a little bit about that, I think, this afternoon, or weaving in some of the views of class. And we'll get there. So I think it's no longer a story of if and when. It's going to be a story of now and how. So as we move into the next set of presentations, and we'll be doing Q&A after this, can I just remind those of you who are watching online to please refresh your pages and generate questions online, and we'll be coming to them on the panels that are around the side here. So after the next two presentations, we'll be moving to a Q&A session that will involve everyone. So Thomas, up here. I think, Thomas, you're doing the first presentation, aren't you, sequentially? Yes? Great. So Thomas has a background in DNV, Class Society. And if I'm, in my history, working with class societies, DNV has always been a little different in putting forward views, particularly around LNG. And it's always been a challenge for me. Why would a class society tie so closely to a single fuel type and fuel source? And I'm pleased to see that DNV have probably moved away from that thinking and seem to have moved much more now into a more progressive, broader outlook. But of course, you're no longer with DNV. You've now moved to Wilhelmsen, where you're heading up the new energy department. And I think it's great when shipping companies, particularly as prestigious and as old as Wilhelmsen, are actually forming departments that determine themselves by new energy. So, Thomas, if I can say the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me? The mic is on. Thank you. I will be showing you and present some of the thinking that lies behind what Wilhelmsen is doing now, and that includes some of the strategy. I think it's interesting in this room and together with all of you to share some thoughts and some thinking in that regard. Very broadly, Wilhelmsen started as a shipping owner in 1861. Now is a major maritime group, a shipping conglomerate. Not so much with owning the ships, but more into every aspect of the shipping industry, meaning supply of whatever ships needs, ship operations, ship management, and so on. This is the world that we meet. Every one of us in our different companies, every company around the world meets the challenges that we live in now. And I think it's fair to say that every person in every time in history has felt that he is living under extraordinary circumstances, that there are extraordinary things going on when he or she lived. But I think it's pretty sure to say that we do live in a time where there are extremely challenges to us, and that is surrounding the way we live and our business. So what Wilhelmsen was is they thought about all this, and they said we really have to do something. So mainly the group is now, and what they did in 2020, and this is important because this is really kind of the core of doing the change that we need now. They established what is central here, the group New Energy. And they put the companies dealing with technology and energy directly into that group. But today, I have to be honest to say that about 80% of the return coming from that group is coming from fossil use of fossil fuel. So it's related to offshore industry, for instance. I'll come back to that a little bit, the companies here. But the main point is that Wilhelmsen are saying now that within the next 5 years, we will turn that from being 80% of the revenue coming from the fossil fuels to be only 20% and 80% coming from new and environmentally sound business. So New Energy, very shortly, is a group comprising both technology companies, digital companies, hydrogen, this kind of stuff. Offshore wind, that's a massive thing here related to renewable fuels. And it's all about investing in what is actually going to become green. So let's look what that means for hydrogen. If you look to hydrogen as a fuel, I would say that, and this is, I think many of you will kind of adhere to this, the core technology is here. We know it's working. What is missing is some logistical elements in the chain. For instance, there will be, maritime containers approved to the maritime rules. You will be here more of that later. Liquid hydrogen tanks, we have already seen that. Fuel form flexible tanks that can fit into the ship form. And also, bunkering of liquid and gaseous fuels. And of course, the fuel cell needs to be, put into the maritime context. Even more importantly, I would say, is the business case. That's what's needed here. And there are so many questions directly to the technology, and I think it's even more questions should be put on the business case. How do we get the business case working? And I just have to say one thing there. I mean, we all know that mankind is really good of making something change and making a good thing change fast when we get the business behind it. And in order to get hydrogen business behind it, we need volume. You need more orders. So wouldn't it be fantastic if the ship owners of the world and the cargo owners and the cargo movers could join forces and create a large volume? Think about that. I think we in this room could collaborate on making a group or making kind of the move that will make the orders come. And that's going to build up the business case. But waiting for that to come, we'll have to go the slow way of regulation, of putting in place things like carbon contracts for difference. But of course, the last thing that really lacks in order for get the hydrogen economy to come is the availability and the infrastructure. And it's not about just ordering ships. You need to be able to operate them and to bunker them. And this is why I wanted to show how Wilhelmsen with our partners are doing this. And it's all about making it available where ships are. So this is showing an example. This is an offshore supply hub. This is a offshore hub. This is in Bergen, close to Bergen. These are along the coast of Norway and Denmark, and is also one owned by North Sea, the group owned by Wilhelmsen, here in Aberdeen, not far from here. But the point is, these offshore hubs are going to be transformed into also being energy hubs. So we're looking at making fuel available at these sites, so ships can bunker there. And it's also, they will offer fuels in the future, hydrogen, compressed liquid, ammonia, different kind of oil products. We have to wait for that to stop, but in the meantime, battery charging and so on. And what does that help, having these things available? You need to supply them with fuel, and that's how we make this, breaking the dilemma of the chicken and egg of hydrogen. So Topeka is a project, start as a project, which is now a zero emission ship owning company. That is going to, the first vessels will be 2 of those vessels shown here. They are 120 meter long. They will have 3 megawatt fuel cell and 1 megawatt hour battery. And they will transport hydrogen from the local and central production of hydrogen in the Bergen area of Norway. That's where it's coming first. So you will see here 2 products mentioned: blue hydrogen production with carbon capture and storage. That's coming on stream first 2022. The fourth quarter in 2022, there will be the first demonstration products up and running, producing 700 kilo per day. Then green hydrogen will come in 2024. That's a product called Aurora that will produce green hydrogen and make that liquid through the technology from the company Air Liquide. So having these 2 sources available, Topeka base-to-base vessel will distribute that fuel from the central production to the offshore bases. And the vessel will be in operation from 2025. So in that sentence, we are building a small universe where we have hydrogen production, we will have hydrogen distribution, and making it available. And and this is the vessel, as I showed you. We have already funding from local Norwegian public funding, about 21 million euro, and we have 8 million euro from the EU project HyShip, going into the design and the development of that vessel. And the last thing needed in order to break the chicken and egg dilemma is more offtake, more volume. And luckily, we are on that path, although it's taking more time than we would like. But Norwegian authorities do signal requirements for zero-emission solutions for offshore supply vessels by 2030 and low-emission requirements from 2025. And with that, I think I conclude my presentation, giving you a slight glimpse into how we are thinking and how we make our efforts and our moves in order to make hydrogen the fuel of the future. Thanks.
Thanks, Thomas. That's really interesting. And just to draw a parallel, in the tanker industry where I am, we have this, well, I think in all the industry we actually have the SeaCargo Charter, that is where the charterers are fixing ships and determining whether they suit the criteria for emissions. And I heard in the last couple of weeks that the first ship has actually been dropped from being on subjects because it didn't make the emission criteria. So there's the start, and certainly there's certainly a visible sign where the shippers, the people to whom we provide a service, are saying, no, we're not taking that ship. And I welcome that, and I would look for more of that. I think it's not lost on me that the Scandinavians, and from everybody who's been up here previously, you're certainly one to join those ranks. The funding that's available is enormous in Norway and in Scandinavia. I mean, the numbers you quoted there, from both the EU and the Norwegian support is tremendous. How do you think that standard can be applied, more broadly across other nations?
Well, I would have liked to say that I agree with you, but I don't think I think I will. The Norwegian public funding is absolutely kind of doing what they can, but I think the sheer volume of what's happening now is in EU. I think the sizes of their thinking and their strategy here is much bigger. Norway is by all means a small country with kind of limited availability to really make this turn. We're doing the best we can with what we have, and we have a strong maritime cluster, and the public is doing their best, and they are really good at supporting us, but of course the volume is not really there to make this massive change.
And there's something there in that maritime cluster. There's something there as an idea or a concept that really is necessary. I know in Glasgow there's a pretty good maritime cluster as well that's certainly being developed. So I think it's a great idea. Good. Well, as we move on now, This is a really interesting presentation that I'm looking forward to from Danielle. Danielle, you're Canadian originally, from Ontario, and you've been sailing on sailing ships. And, you know, I'm an engineer, right? So I'm all about the propulsive power of main engines. But if I've learned anything in my time, it's the possibility of wind. And I think from your experience and what you've done through your career, it's going to be really interesting to see how you intend to apply some of that thinking to the deep sea trade. So, Danielle, please.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Hi, my name is Danielle, and I'm the director of SailCargo Inc. The presentation you're about to see is very exciting. I came all the way from Costa Rica to come here. This is where I'm living permanently. And yeah, we're going to be unveiling a new project that we're doing. So I'm just going to start by reading a little passage from a book called Capitalism and the Sea. Global capitalism is a seaborne phenomenon. Ocean winds, currents, tides, and weather patterns have combined with biochemical and geophysical characteristics like salinity, acidity, density, and temperature, or natural features such as sandbanks, reefs, lagoons, inlets, and shallows to produce specific risks, unique logistical difficulties, and singular geographical obstacles in the way of capitalist accumulation. For all its power to subsume most of planetary life under the logic of commodity exchange, capitalism regularly confronts geophysical barriers to its own self-expansion, which in the case of the sea are especially challenging. So, okay, we know this. I don't really need to say it, but in most presentations, you're supposed to identify the problem. These are some of the problems we try to change at SailCargo Inc. Our mission is to prove the value of clean shipping. If you're familiar with me or what we're doing down in Costa Rica, we're building this ship called Ceiba, and this is a relatively recent picture. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when Ceiba is launched, which should be by end of next year, should be the largest emission-free cargo vessel that can cross an ocean. So this will be a completely emission-free ship. She can carry the equivalent of 9 containers, 9 TEU. So while she'll be the largest in the world, really quite a small vessel. There's a picture from the inside. And we're actually really quite successful with our little company, with our regenerative materials and locally sourced wood. In fact, we've completely filled the vessel on all northbound voyages and can fill it multiple times with different target products. Ours is primarily coffee at this point. In fact, we're so successful with that that we're announcing the build of our second ship of the same exact design. This is called Pitaya, and we're already beginning accumulating wood and timber for that vessel. And we've actually received quite a lot of recognition for this, and we were recently awarded a gold medal celebrating the ties between Costa Rica and Canada for our work in the emission-free transportation sector, which does include work with hydrogen. And these are just some of the people in our team. We have approximately a 50-person full-time crew. That's including office people, cooking staff, which include local grandmothers from our region, which is one of the poorest in Costa Rica. And our mission is to prove the value of clean shipping. So this is just a nod to what got me here to this podium. But what I want to talk about today is our newest project. So because we've been, in our eyes, so successful with our business, we seem to have already answered that problem, but we wanted to readdress that problem. And I came to the conclusion that this is actually not the real problem. None of these are the real problem. The problem is not that we have a problem, it's that we don't have a solution, at least not at a large industrial scale. And this was a problem that we have as a company because we're not able to satisfy what our clients and investors want. So we came together with our team, and you'll see there some nonprofit and some research-based, and of course providers. And we want to end our largest client, who's listed at the top. And we said, let's address this new problem, is that I don't have a solution. I can't tell my largest client yes. And today, I'm here to introduce what our solution is. And this is the logo that we're going to be presenting today. And, oh no, can you make it play? This is a little video. So we're introducing Veer, which is the vessel we have already begun designing with our naval architect, Dijkstra. Dijkstra Naval Architects is from the Netherlands. These are just some images. Some people may recognize this as an interpretation on the Ecoliner, which was presented by Dijkstra, I believe in 2015, if not earlier, which this is an interpretation of that vessel. But this one is designed to be completely emission-free with a hydrogen auxiliary engine. Our main engine are the Dynarig sails, which are provided by Southern Spars. This vessel is designed to be very fast. It will be the fastest emission-free cargo vessel in the world, and the largest, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a quote from our client, and I'll read it if I can. Coffee has the biggest footprint of any beverage on the planet. As a company, we have been trying to improve on that through different means, the means that we can control. So they work a lot in packaging, emissions to do with roasting, and every other aspect that they can with the coffee. Regardless of what we do, the biggest problem is that it boards the dirtiest form of transportation. So we are basically trying to address the final broken link in an otherwise sustainable supply chain. The answer that we found was Veer. We believe that through partnership, we can use our leverage as a company to assist. That is, importing hundreds and hundreds of containers from all over the world. And this company, who is just one of our clients, we have others, does import coffee from every single country in the world, which allows us to explore routes based on coffee, based on reasonable routes for a vessel of this size, and based on hydrogen hubs, and where we believe hydrogen hubs will be developing. These are some routes that we're looking at, but they're not set in stone. It's important for me to share that we have engaged with the architect to build 6 of these vessels. This is not a one-off. And yes, for me, this is a really big statement that I can tell clients, yes, we can ship with containers, because previously we could not say that. These are just more renderings. The vessel. And some of the main particulars. So she's only 100 meters and can only take 100 TEU. We could double this if we had the interest from clients. We're starting small with the focus of being a fast vessel. You'll notice that she can sustain 20 knots completely emission-free. And yes, she can cross the Atlantic Ocean. That's not a problem. So for a business case, we did a first round of funding, which I asked my investors of the wooden ship, and we received the first round of funding in less than 24 hours. These are very early numbers. They're very approximate. I received them just a few days ago. But the architects do believe that if we receive the funding I'm looking for, we can be building these ships and put them on the water. They're going to yell at me for saying this, but in approximately 3 years, and they can be operational. One of the most important things about this vessel is that we are bringing together existing technology and applying it. We are not trying to design something new. The solutions are here, our clients are here, our investors are here, and so we're starting small with 100 TEU. And we do not currently have a shipyard, although we have received interest from about 5 different nations that would like to have us build in their yard as a statement piece. And that's it. Thank you. Please follow us on social media.